Welcome everyone to another video. In this video, I will be just removing the scroll encoder and the middle mouse button on this Cooler Master MM712 gaming mice. This is actually a wireless gaming mice, and I've already disassembled the upper part of the mouse, the upper shell, and now I will be just removing these two screws. And the PCB comes out from the mouse chassis. It is really untidy. Anyways, I'm going to clean this later, and I'm going to make sure to get the scroll wheel out. I'm also going to clean the scroll wheel later, and I have a lot of dust and some small hairs here and there. Basically, in this video, I will be showing you how you can get this scroll encoder off, and later I am going to install a new scroll encoder which I have already ordered. Here it is. And we are also going to be installing some new razor switches onto this mouse. This is a mouse which uses optical switches. These optical switches are working just fine, but I will be replacing it just because the client wants me to do that. So the way we are going to be doing this is I will be just desoldering these 3 points here and these 5 points here. Now, desoldering can be really tricky for a few people, especially if you don't have some experience with it. But in this video, I will try my level best to show you how you can remove this middle mouse button and the scroll encoder as easily as possible. I will be using this desoldering pump. This is a very basic tool. This costs somewhere around I guess $10, $12, which is something that anyone can afford, even if you want to do it just as an hobby. So what I will be doing is I am going to be just putting this on these solder joints, going to melt them, and will suck the solder. Now, as you can see, there is still some solder that remains on these joints, and to remove that, we will need to add some solder again. So we added a little bit solder so that it is a little easy for us to, get the remaining solder off. So finally, we were able to get the middle mouse button off. And I'm going to make sure to remove this little plastic thing which raises the height a little. And this one uses a little longer legs on the contacts. I don't think it will be a problem. Anyway, so that is how you remove the mouse switches with a desoldering gun. I mean the desoldering pump. And it is actually that simple. But you will surely need some practice or experience if you want to do this very easily. But this is the way to do it. I have been doing this in this way for a long time. Now I will be removing the scroll encoder which is faulty on this mouse. So now what I will be doing is I am going to add more solder to all of these 5 joints, and I'm going to make sure to make a bridge connection between them. So now we are in a situation to just heat up this joint, and at the same time I will be using these tweezers to pull this scroll encoder in the opposite direction. But before that I need to clean my iron. And there we go. I was able to get this scroll encoder off. It was not easy, and this is not for those who don't have much experience with soldering. But yeah, this is how you get the scroll encoder off without cutting the legs or without damaging it. For sure this is not going to be usable because we have applied a lot of heat and we might have damaged it, but the entire purpose of doing this is to replace this which is already damaged, which is not already working. So that is how you do it. Now all that is left is to clean off all the excessive solder that we have left behind on the PCB. So there we go. I have cleaned the PCB using some solder wick, some flux, and a soldering iron, which is not actually an expensive one. So that is how you clean the remaining solder. Once this is done, you will need to clean the remaining flux, and for doing that I generally use some isopropyl alcohol and some paper towels. And from here we can proceed with the installation of the new scroll encoder and a new switch, a new middle mouse switch. And there you go. And it is actually that simple to get the scroll encoder in once you have cleaned these holes nicely. At this point, all that is needed is to solder these joints, which is not something difficult. Desoldering was really difficult. It can be, I mean, first I'm going to solder the legs. And there we go. We were able to solder the new scroll encoder from TTC. Now it's time for the new mouse button. And to solder this one, it is exactly the same procedure, but we will have to hold it from one side this time because we don't have any long legs that are holding it. So I am going to be holding it. And the procedure of soldering this one is a little different. We will have to take some solder on the tip like this and leave it on one of the points. Do the exact same thing with the other one. Once you're done with the first two, you will be able to do the third one easily because that would have already held in place. That is how you fix the scroll encoder and the middle mouse button in the Cooler Master MM712 mouse. It was not actually easy. This is not something that I will recommend to everyone. You will need some patience, you will need some experience, practice to perform a repair like this. But this is how you do it. This is how you replace the scroll encoder and the middle mouse button. As far as the other two buttons are concerned, these are actually very simple. These are just the optical switches from Razer. All you need to do is just align them so it went in finally. And the other one is in too. So this mice is totally repaired and there is nothing else that is required, at least on this particular unit, to be done. Now I will be reassembling this entire unit back again and we are going to be testing it on the PC.